Greetings, my name is Michael Stavrakakis and I'm the singer of Doomocracy from Greece. Welcome to a brand new episode of Addicted to Lists. As you might have seen in the title, today we're not gonna go into lists of favorite music, but rather explore my most expensive vinyl albums according to DISCOGS, the renowned website for buying used and new vinyl and CD. I'm not the biggest vinyl collector in the world, but I like to think that I have a pretty decent collection. I started buying vinyl records at the age of 16. I have to admit that for almost 10 years, from late 90s to late zeros, I was only buying CDs as most albums were not released on vinyl. I also exchanged some of the vinyl albums that I bought during that period with CDs, like Jagulator from Judas Priest and Euthanasia by Megadeth. And I also gave as a gift to a good American friend the album Louder Than Hell by Manowar. Yeah, no, it's tough. And of course, I became 20 in the year 1998 when most albums would be released on CD, like I said. Anyway, enough explaining or complaining. Let's move on to my most expensive vinyl albums per Discogs. For this episode, I'm gonna be needing my reading glasses because I will be reading some prices. We begin with number 10 of my most expensive albums. We're talking, of course, about Gamma Ray's Land of the Free. If you've watched my favorite power metal albums episode, you would know that Land of the Free is my favorite power metal album. I bought this at a local record store called Discorama. Some of my Cretan friends will remember it. And I paid 2,500 drachmas. That is an equivalent of €7.30. Its current max value, €222. You see, in a time when CDs were becoming more and more popular, even less and less people were buying vinyl albums. Next up is a progressive metal gem, which I really love. I'm talking about the album In Your Multitude by Norwegian band Conception. Released on Noise Records as well. Every prog music lover should own this record. Amazing songs like Under a Morning Star, A Million Gods, Some Wounds, Retrospect. Incredible album. I remember I bought this in Thessaloniki on the 27th of September 1998. That is the day after we saw Death and Chuck Schuldiner live in Thessaloniki, one of my most cherished metal concerts. I bought it through Steel Gallery's record store, a famous record store and record company in Thessaloniki. Remember that the two first Doomocracy albums were released from Steel Gallery Records, that is The End Is Written and Visions and Creatures of Imagination. It cost me around 7,000 drachmas, which is an equivalent of €20, and its current maximum value or maximum sale price is €240. I mean, even with the remasters released last year, this album still sells for €200. On the same day, I bought two more albums. Two albums from one of my favorite bands. I'm talking about doom metal band Memento Mori and the album Rhymes of Lunacy, which I bought for around the same price as the Conception album, around €20, I think. And of course, Memento Mori's other album and my most favorite by Memento Mori, Life, Death and Other Morbid Tales. Life, Death and Other Morbid Tales has a maximum selling value of €161, but it is currently being sold at €229, while Rhymes of Lunacy has a max selling value of €252 and it's being sold for €119. That's one of the paradoxes of the Discogs selling system. Next up, we have an album which I absolutely love. It is one of my favorite doom metal albums, if not the favorite. I'm talking about Beyond the Crimson Horizon by Solitude Aeturnus. I really love this album. And I urge every metal fan, not just doom metal fan, to get a copy of this. So I think I exchanged this back in the day with a friend for a Manowar record. I think it was Sign of a Hammer. So I think it was a good deal. It now sells for 255 euro. That's the max value. Remember that I'm always talking about the max value. And it currently sells from 169 euro to 1,000 euro. For God's sake. Moving on now to a great thrash metal band. I'm talking about Defiance and their album Beyond Recognition. I think I got this record from my childhood friend Manthos. We were both exchanging music, cassettes, vinyl records back then. So I must have got this from him, if I remember correctly. It has a max value of 280 euros and it sells for around 110 euro. I almost sold this album a few years ago for 90 euro. But at the end, I couldn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't. Next, we go to one of my favorite metal bands. You would know this if you've seen the 8 episodes released so far. I'm talking about Fate's Warning and the album Disconnected. I bought this album as soon as it was released. I think it was a few days after the concert that Fate's Warning gave in Athens. I love this album. It has some songs that I really love. We have Something from Nothing, incredible song. We have Still Remains with Kevin Moore playing keyboards again. It has a great cover. I think I bought it for about 18 euro. And it has a max value of 307 euro and currently sells from 280 euro to 1,040 euro. Come on guys, there's a remastered version nowadays. You know that the remastered version costs like 30 euro or something? How can you still have a price that high for this album? That's kind of ridiculous, I'm sorry. Next we have an amazing album by Brazilian band Angra. I'm talking about Fireworks. It is the last album to feature the amazing André Matos on vocals. It is not as good as the 2 previous albums, I must admit, but it's still a great album with beautiful compositions. I think I'm somehow missing the more symphonic parts on this album. I mean, apart from the song Lisbon, the other songs are more guitar driven, which is nice, but you know, Holy Land had all these wonderful orchestrations that I am missing on this one. Anyway, Fireworks has a maximum selling value of 327 euro, but sells for 1,000 euro. There's only one guy selling it right now, and he sets the market and he chooses to sell it for 1,000 euro. I mean, seriously? I think I bought it for like 20 euro or something. Moving on to one of my favorite thrash metal albums by the band Sodom. I love this band, but I absolutely love this album. It has some amazing songs like Tapping the Vein, Body Parts, and my favorite, Reincarnation, one of my favorite thrash metal songs of all time. This one I exchanged again with my friend Manthos. It currently has a max selling value of 395 euro and it is selling from 449 euro to 722 euro. Incredible. Position number 2 goes to the amazing Finnish band Amorphis and the incredible album Tales from the Thousand Lakes. A really innovative death metal album. Once again, I exchanged this from my friend Manthos back in the day. I think it was along with a long sleeve of Tales from the Thousand Lakes. I wore it out completely. It has a maximum selling value of 468 euro and fortunately it is currently being sold for 180 euro. I think that's a fair price for an album that is as rare as this. Fotis Benardo drums is a drum instrument that gives you access to 2 professional drum kits, a top-of-the-line studio sound with an unparalleled realism. I've been using it a lot lately and I must say that it is very realistic, easy to use and it sounds amazing. It gives you full mixing control and high-quality effects, full routing options and a huge selection of MIDI grooves covering at the highest quality a variety of popular music genres. It gives you everything you need to create the perfect drum tracks for all kinds of extreme and not only production. So if you want an all-star drummer like Fotis Benardo playing some awesome sounding grooves for your next project, you can use my affiliate link in the description of this video and acquire Fotis Benardo drums by Stigmatized Productions at a discounted price. I have to admit that I don't spend that much money on buying vinyl records lately. I used to buy around 30 to 40 or 50 vinyl records per year, but last year I think I bought more or less about 20 records, and this year so far I've only bought 13 records, which are mostly re-releases and a few were the new albums, of course. Also, I've never spent more than 60 or maybe even 70 euro per album, as I don't think it's worth spending that much money on a vinyl record. It is not that I can afford it, it's just that I think that no record should cost that much money. My personal point of view is that if you spend that much money on a record, or even more, up to 100 euro for example, then you're not really a vinyl collector, you're more of a vinyl junkie, you know, like a merchant of music, which is not bad by any means, and I don't mean to criticize people that do that. If they have the money to spend it, then, you know, go on and spend it. What is kind of strange about DISCOGS is the so-called suggested price. That means that whenever you try to sell a vinyl record or a CD, if you place the price too low, DISCOGS will suggest a different price that thinks it's more fair, asking you to raise the price that you are selling. I mean, I know that that is just a suggested price and you can sell lower if you want to, but man, I think that that gets people's heads crazy. And then they start selling at ridiculous prices. And suddenly you see an album that used to cost 50 or 70 euro being sold for 1000 euro, as mentioned before. Follow this story so I can give you an example of what I mean. And first of all, let me say that I'm not really criticizing the merchants or the collectors or the record lovers. Anyone can sell at the price that they feel is suitable for what they are selling. And if you don't like the price, you don't have to buy it, of course. But, like I said, things with vinyl prices have got out of hand. We have this amazing album by Fates Warning, A Pleasant Shade of Grey, released in 2015. This one is a double vinyl on blue and green marble vinyl. I think I bought this for around 25 euro on DISCOGS. The lowest price sold is 70 euro. The average price is 52 euro and the highest price is 140 euro. So far so good, you would say. But there is only one merchant selling this at the moment. This merchant chose to sell the album at the price of 870 euro. I know that you can pass, you can just say, okay, of course I'm not gonna buy this. But I don't know what people are thinking, raising the prices that high. What do you think? Why is this happening with vinyl prices? I won't go into record labels and new vinyl prices. We will leave that for another episode of Addicted to Lists. And I urge you to listen to the podcast by Sakis Fragos, the chief editor of Greek Rock Hard magazine. He has a podcast in Greek, I think. I guess you can find a translation if it's on YouTube, I don't know. But it is a great podcast explaining the rise on new vinyl albums prices. There are many quotes on forums regarding the suggested prices by DISCOGS. Here's one example from a few years ago.
I just posted a vinyl that is in very good condition. Comparing to the other ones currently available in sold history, I priced it for $20 and allowed offers. The only one to ever sell for over $60 was sealed. Very good condition, seems to go for somewhere in the $20 range, or sometimes even less. The suggested price DISCOGS generated was $78.73. A price in this condition it would never sell for. Is DISCOGS just using the price the mint one sold at to suggest prices?
Add to all that the rise on shipping prices, and you understand how this collecting vinyl sport has become even more difficult lately. DISCOGS is great, and it is an amazing site for finding new and used music. But do check out other websites as well before you buy, like eBay, for example. And of course, always visit and support your local record store, where usually you can find the most amazing bargains. But enough of the chatter. Let's move on to my number one most expensive vinyl per DISCOGS. It is the album Symbolic by The Amazing Death. One of the most incredible metal albums of all time, don't you think? Before I explain how I got this album, let me share a short story. When we were growing up listening to rock and metal music, we would borrow or even lend our own records to friends to exchange music and learn new bands. And that was all happening in good faith. But sadly, some people never returned those records. And with the amount of records being exchanged between friends, sometimes you forgot who you lent your record to. And some wise guys would accidentally never return that record. A pretty bad habit. Fortunately, to me, that happened only once with Sleep's Holy Mountain vinyl record that I lent it to someone that I don't remember and who never returned it. The same thing probably happened a few times to my friend Manthos, who naturally got upset and started writing with the pen his name on his records to make sure he would get them back. I mean, can you blame him? So long story short, I exchanged this amazing vinyl record from my friend Manthos, who, as you will see, has written his name, Manthos, on it, and he indicated which record number from his collection is this one. So the album has a maximum selling value of €500 and is currently being sold from €340 to €950. With the story that I just shared, I think my copy is quite unique. So maybe I could go even higher, perhaps €2,000? So that was my episode about my most expensive vinyl albums according to DISCOGS. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and if you want, share the list with your most expensive vinyl albums in your collection. Thanks so much for your support and for watching. Until next time, stay safe and rock on.